Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commexis Cast Daily for Thursday, November 9th, 2017. All the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. I'm Matthew McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I am joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip Brooks.
Good morning.
And the president of Commexis, Len Ward.
Good morning.
So our first story today, LinkedIn has created a resume assistant for Microsoft Word. This is a story that came from David Cohen on Adweek. Phillip, take it away.
Yeah, so what they've done is they've integrated resume features into, Word features into the resume builder within LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, so it's a pretty easy synergy of product and ownership. And what they've done is they've enabled users to look at other profiles with job descriptions to kind of see how these other professionals are using their resumes to explain essentially what their duties are, and have a better idea of what kinds of things to put on their resumes to fit jobs that are when they're looking for positions that fit those descriptions. Additionally, it also allows for people to use your Word tools for spelling and grammar and all that stuff. I would hope that by the time you're getting to the point you're linking your resume on LinkedIn that you've already done that. But
hopefully,
I've seen some resumes that have been out there, so perhaps maybe I'm giving people a little more benefit of the doubt than they deserve. But it also has some built-in things to let you actually put your resume directly into LinkedIn's Open Candidates feature, which allows you to kind of discreetly work with recruiters without anybody knowing that your resume is out there. So it seems like a pretty easy synergy for these two brains to go together, and it actually dovetails quickly into something that Len probably wants to mention.
Yeah, well, just real quick, so that you actually build your resume within Word, and then it can export it directly into LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's a plugin essentially that works with LinkedIn.
Oh, works with LinkedIn, so you have to open up the LinkedIn page to do it, and Word's there so you can do spell check and everything else. Yeah, we currently have 2 positions on LinkedIn right now, digital client coordinator and a chief branding officer. LinkedIn's a really good place to find really good talent. We do use Indeed and a couple other things. We do like to hire in-house. We're not really big on the headhunters, although there's nothing wrong with them. We like to hire in-house, but LinkedIn is definitely a really, we've actually hired a few people behind us from LinkedIn. So I like to see how that tool works out. And LinkedIn, so if you're thinking about putting a job up there, it's really good. Before they used to charge, I think it was like $300-400 per job. Now they're charging you like per day, so you can go like 10, 20, 25 dollars a day, which I think is actually a lot better for the company, for us, because sometimes you may not really need to spend $300-400 on a pay-per-click to grab the right talent. So a little background on LinkedIn.
Well, there you go. And our second, those links will also be in the podcast description. So if you're looking for a quick way to apply. So for our second story today, Facebook has unveiled a new budget optimization tool. This is also from David Cohen from Adweek. The tool will allow advertisers to set one central campaign budget and optimize spending across their ad sets by distributing budget to ad sets that are performing the best in real time. There's a little chart that you will be seeing right now, but that is also in the blog description, that gives a little example of exactly how the tool works. Facebook said the tool will save advertisers time by eliminating manual shifting of budgets between ad sets, adding that advertisers can set daily or lifetime campaign budgets, as well as bid caps and spend limits for each individual ad set. And again, it works in real time to hopefully make things as efficient and effective as possible.
And if Facebook's taught us anything, they're exceptional at measuring data.
Yeah.
And they haven't really made any mistakes or anything that you might be a little bit concerned to just turn that automation over.
They haven't made 10, 11, or 12 mistakes, perhaps.
So, as much as I feel like there's definite value to a tool like this, especially for somebody who's, not necessarily doing this on a daily basis. If you're doing your own advertising in-house, you have a marketing department that has, multiple facets where you're wearing lots of different hats and you're kind of in charge of a lot of this stuff. I can see the absolute value for this, but there's a certain point where if I'm possibly, if I'm managing a client's account or multiple accounts where I really want somebody to be in there every single day looking at this data, this would scare me. I wouldn't necessarily just turn that on and walk away. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
No.
And again, we've seen enough skewed data from Facebook in the last few months to years, that I don't know how reasonable I would be with this stuff just to turn it over to them. Again, I think it has a value. I just don't think it fits in our kind of our plans for what we do for the size of campaigns that you're managing. If I was doing a campaign of more than $1,000 a month, I would probably not trust this.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, our third and final story today also involves Facebook. The Pew Research Center has come up with a new study that says 45% of Americans get their news from Facebook. This is a write-up by Amy Gasenhus on Marketing Land. The findings are part of a survey that was conducted by Pew Research Center, polling 4,971 Americans on which social media sites they most often turn for news content. During the past year, the number of Americans getting at least a portion of their news had increased from 62% in 2016 to 67%. So Facebook has a large share of the 67%, and half claim that they only use it. They only use a site for news. The second leading, for those who are wondering, is YouTube at 18% and Twitter at 15%. So there's quite a disparity there. This is also one of the things that the center said, that for the first time in the center's survey, more than half, which was 55% of Americans ages 50 or older, report getting news on social media sites, and that is 10% higher than the 45% who said so in 2016. So a lot more people are getting their news from social media sites, and a lot of it is coming from Facebook.
I would bet that if you go look at like our local paper, the Courier Post, or Philly.com, I mean, I had a Philly.com app, but I'll bet the majority of their traffic's coming from social media right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're not going directly to the site anymore, which is that's a very interesting thing. So it kind of also lends as to where you need to obviously put your content. Your content really just needs to be on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I mean, all these other places they want to put you on and do this and do that. I don't necessarily know if you need to do that. But what I find really interesting about Twitter, I think Twitter is actually a much better news thing if you know how to do it properly. Although Facebook's good because it's good, but I like Twitter. But you have to think at some point some sort of news publication is going to come in and purchase Twitter, realizing that you can put everything right there. People have talked about Twitter and acquisitions, and I really have to believe that's going to be some sort of news outlet that's going to eventually take them over.
Yeah, I agree with that, because if you look at Facebook, you don't really have the ability to structure your news feed to make channels that you really, really want.
Yeah.
Whereas with Twitter, you can create lists. You can say, I'm going to put all of my sources about this topic here. Like if I want entertainment news or sports news, I'll put them all in one list, and then I can sort my feed by those lists. It makes it a lot easier to kind of sort your news and things like that. But again, this is especially troubling to me. This whole thing is simply because the value of news that's coming through social media is at, to me, an all-time low. Yeah, I mean, it's
really is.
If people are admitting that, and this is a really sizable poll, that's a huge amount of people.
That's almost 5,000.
Yeah, I mean that's a as far as these polls go, that's a huge sample size. To me, that just makes me even more concerned about finding ways to make sure that these are viable news sources, and that the sources are actually coming from people that don't have some sort of agenda that's hidden. And I'm glad that Facebook's sort of taking steps that way. I will say this: when I was in journalism school, they always made us read the Christian Science Monitor because it was, in their opinion, the most unbiased news source. So, so I tend to follow that continuously too. But it's interesting to see how everybody perceives the leanings of their favorite news outlets.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out tomorrow for more of the latest trending news. Have a great day.